Welcome back to another edition of Faces in the Corsair Crowd. Today I'm joined by Coach Matt Ducharme of the women's basketball team. Thank you for joining me, Matt. Why don't you talk a little bit about how you got to UMass?
Well, sure we have enough time on the Zoom for that. It's been a very circuitous trip. I was a graduate of UMass Dartmouth in 2000. In psychology, I worked with mental health for a couple of years and decided to go get my master's in exercise science at phys ed. Did a small internship with the Pittsburgh Pirates in Major League Baseball as a strength coach. Opportunity opened up at UMass Dartmouth for a strength and conditioning coach. I jumped at that, ended up being the women's basketball strength and conditioning coach. Things took a turn at some point. University, I ended up moving around and went into admissions, worked with athletics, and I'll try to keep this as brief as possible. Coach Van Voorhis at the time, who's now our AD, I was leaving admissions, going to go be a phys ed teacher and coach. That was going to be my my next path, and she had an opening on the staff, brought me on board. And so I went to be a teacher and worked at UMass Dartmouth as an assistant basketball coach for the women's basketball team. And then things really went kind of quickly from there. Coach Van Voorhis became AD Van Voorhis within 3 years. And then I became head coach within 3 years, which was a really fast track to being a college head coach. Things happen for a reason, and timing is everything. And now I'm going into my 7th year as the head coach.
How has your role as a coach adapted without being around your student athletes right now in our current situation?
It's been extremely challenging, to be honest. I'm a very, personable person. I like to be in contact. I like to, face-to-face meetings. Becoming into a virtual world like we are right now, it's been a little difficult. We've had, I've become a Zoom aficionado, and just trying to keep in contact as much as possible. I have a great staff. My 2 assistants, Jackie and Alex, have been amazing. Also helping us keep in contact and engagement with our team. In fact, right now, Coach Jackie is working on a sort of a trivia game to get the groups involved and kind of having like a fun time together as best we can. I know everybody's itching to be on the basketball court, and unfortunately, we're in a situation where that's not currently available for us. But we're going to make do with the best we can from what we have.
Awesome. And you've mentioned your Zoom sessions. Are there any other ways you've helped your athletes stay connected?
Well, we do have 4 student athletes that are on campus, so that has been helpful. I meet with them as many times as possible, and try to keep that. We've also put our players into small groups so that there's a kind of a upperclassmen, lowerclassmen, kind of by majors, to kind of keep them connected, and then they have to check in with us as coaches as well to keep that connection going. We're trying to think outside the box as much as possible, but new ideas just keep coming, so we'll try anything to make that happen. But most of it's phone calls, texts, Zooms, stuff like that.
What's something you're looking forward to about getting your team back together, getting back out on the court?
Just seeing them, having them together. It's great to be working on some small group stuff with the 4 that you have on campus, but there's nothing like having a full team out there and really just that, the whole energy, the camaraderie, the building the chemistry. There's nothing quite like that. I can't wait to have that happen. I can't wait to be sitting in my office and have players, come in and just sort of sit down and chat. Like that stuff's important.
Definitely. How has your approach to the game changed over the course of your career?
I like to think I've become more adaptable. I think when you start, or at least when I did, you kind of, you don't have all the answers, but you want to kind of think you do, and maybe you're a little too maybe stubborn at that time. I think I like to think I become more adaptable. You recruit the best student athletes you can get. When you don't have scholarships, you kind of adapt your program to who does choose to come to play for you. And I think that's something that I've changed throughout my career. I've changed offenses, I've changed defenses, I've changed style of play, changed rotations. I trust my, I think a bigger part of my learning too is trying to trusting my staff and really relying on them. And I think they've always come up huge.
You mentioned your recruiting process. What kind of off the court qualities do you look for in your recruits?
And my new little catchphrase I've been telling them, I said, talent's always going to get you noticed, but character is going to get you recruited. Obviously, talent catches the eye of every coach. You know a good basketball player when you see a good basketball player, but I always look, and I tell them, I'm pretty upfront with them. I want to see when you get subbed out of a game, what's your body language like? Is the coach talking to you? Do you have eye contact? When you're on the bench, are you sulking at the end, or are you clapping for your teammates? Are you bringing the energy on the bench like you need? Are you looking in the crowd to your parents for some sort of guidance or approval or whatever? That kind of stuff I look for. And of course, I'm now more than ever, I've been really in contact with parents and coaches to kind of get a feel for what that is. Because since I don't get to see them as much in person right now because of the pandemic, relying on parents and coaches to kind of find their character traits that, I might not see because highlight films only show, the good things. So I think that's some of the process I look for. I think it's important to have players that can get along and be addition and not a subtraction.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned you've been at UMass Dartmouth in different roles for a while now. What are some of your favorite memories with your athletes over the years?
I mean, the one that really comes to mind is 2017 when we went to the Elite Eight. From a team that, it was a very good team, very talented. Our conference was extremely strong that year. In fact, we ended up sending three teams to the NCAAs. But that team just overcame a lot of obstacles, starting with the beginning of the year, losing a preseason All-American to an injury, where people kind of counted us out at that point, to overcoming all these obstacles, getting an at-large bid, first time ever in program history, and then taking that all the way to the Elite Eight, playing a very tough a very tough Amherst team. That's one. And the second one I will say, and I know you asked for one, but I'm a talker. We had another one the year prior. We had a team trip to Haiti, which was an amazing service trip, where it's something that we didn't touch a basketball, but it's something that'll always stand out with me, and I hope with a lot of players they were able to partake in that experience.
Awesome. What do you hope your players take away from their time as Corsairs?
I always tell them when I start recruiting them that I want them to look back and think this was the best decision they could have made, that they don't regret that decision, that it was, and it's not just a basketball thing. I tell them, once you make this decision, it's a lifetime commitment, as long as you'll have me and the family in here. I want them to look back on that time fondly. I want them to continue staying connected after they graduate. I think alumni relationships are crucial and critical. And I think they just say a lot about the program and the culture that you build. And we've been blessed to have very good players and very good people come through this program, especially recently, but even from all times. We've gotten players from the 80s and 90s that have stayed connected, which I think is amazing.
Awesome. Well, thank you for joining me, Matt. It was great to hear your side of the story and listen to what a coach's perspective is like.
Sure, I appreciate you having me anytime.